This is ASMM Digital Small Business Connections. I am Ann Brennan. We are coming up on the final shows for this particular podcast, and we're going to switch over soon to Marketing Month. So I'm really excited about that. But I am happy to have you here. It is Monday morning. I was going to say, you guys can see behind me, it's beautiful outside, except for it's stinking humid. It's so hot here that I went outside and I was on my bike for about 2 minutes before I started pouring sweat. It was disgusting, but I'm going to stay inside today. It's going to be a great day. And we're going to talk to somebody who I'm very excited about. If you are following me on Facebook, you will see that this morning I posted a video of this woman, and she was talking about sales and manipulation. And it was really so good that I'm so excited about having her on. But I told her I'm going to do something different today, in that I am going to read her introduction. And this is for all of you out there who say, I want to be a guest on a show. I want to tell you, I never read the introductions. Why? Because they're boring. But this one is not. So today's guest is Annie P. Ruggles. She's the founder of the Non-Sleazy Sales Academy, which I love, Non-Sleazy Sales Academy. For over a decade, she has harnessed her Hulk-like disdain for hard sales, tacky self-promotion, and overly competitive sleazeballs as inspiration to help people find better ways to grow their small business. That is a good introduction. That is a really great introduction. It makes it interesting. And now you really want to know who she is. So before I go to her, though, I'm putting something across the bottom of the screen. It says subscribe on YouTube. Guys, come on and help me out here. Go over and subscribe there. My kids still think I'm a nerd. Help that stop happening. I also want to remind you that we are live. And so if you have questions, you can ask them. Put them in the comments, whether you're on YouTube, whether you're on Facebook, or you're on Twitter. Put them in the comments, and we can see them and we can answer them. Great person to talk to today. Annie P. Ruggles, we're so excited to have you. Thank you. Thank you.
You know, thank you for liking my bio. Some people, I send it and they're like, do you have a real bio, dear? And that is how I know that I'm in the wrong place.
Yes. Have you listened to Tim? Oh my gosh, I'm going to forget his name. Oh my gosh, going to forget his name. Very famous person. Tim someone. But he has, his podcast, first of all, has about 12 minutes of commercials in the beginning. And then he reads the bio. He doesn't read a short bio. He reads a long bio. It goes on and on and on. And I'm like, by the time we get to the end of it, I'm like, who is this person again? It's horrible. So
why do I care? What does it have to do with me? You know, and I've made some enemies in the past, and I'm very much a Muppet human, so I hope that their level of animosity toward me is light. But I have made enemies in the past by saying, like, y'all, memoir is boring. If you're not going to shake people up and make them feel something or make them laugh, or if you're not going to quickly move in your content to what the heck this has to do for them, then we're missing the opportunity to connect with our content. Brian in our comments, good morning, Brian, wants to know if you're talking about Tim Ferriss.
Yes, thank you, Brian. Oh my gosh, I always want to call him Tim Shaw, and I don't even know if I know a Tim Shaw. So Tim Ferriss, that is his name. I actually, once in a while, will have a great guest on there, but I kind of feel like it's hit or miss. But when he has a great guest, he'll interview him for 2 hours. They're phenomenal.
Tim Ferriss is one of the people that I feel like when people saw the cover of the 4-Hour Workweek, they assumed that they knew what it was about. It's really about like peak performance and how to work optimally. But I have had so many people be like, well, I mean, I'm working 40 hours a week, Annie. I'm working 50 hours a week. Shouldn't I only be working 4? And I'm like, did you actually read Tim Ferriss's book, y'all? Or did you just read the cover? Same thing with Chris Kilibo's $100 startup. Why is it so expensive? I'm like, because running a small business takes time and money.
Absolutely. But to go back to his podcast, I will say, first of all, I feel like I am best friends with Hugh Jackman.
Oh, hey.
I listen to his podcast. I feel like I am totally best friends with him because I've listened to that now. Yes, right. And there have been people he's interviewed, like I think it's Jim Collins, and just I took so much away from it. So I'm not dissing him, but he does do a couple of things that annoy the crap out of me. That bio and the ads at the beginning of the show, and then right again in the middle of the show. So I often listen in the shower and I'm yelling at my husband, skip the ads for me, skip the ads. So,
you got soap in your eye and you're trying to drag the thing across. You're like, try not to get water on your phone. Listening to podcasts in the shower, so optimal and yet so not.
I know, right? Exactly, especially with the ads. All right, so let's talk about you. So we did your manipulation ad. We are not going to talk about that today, or your video. If you guys are listening to this, please go back and watch that. That was really great. It was really, really great. I loved it. But sales avoidance, what is it?
So sales avoidance is the sneaky, pesky hatred fueled by fear that heart-centered people experience when they try to put a price or command that price for their labors of love. And I had to self-diagnose really first, in that my background's in marketing and branding. And I'm not about to say on the show that's about to become Marketing Moms that like, oh, I'm anti-marketing. I'm absolutely not. I think every single dime you spend on marketing is worth it if you're going to cross the finish line to sales. But what sales avoidance is it literally trips us at the finish line. We get all the way there, not even to the point of closing. I'm not even talking about closing. I'm talking about opening. We get to the point where it's time to start selling. And instead, we choose to go back into marketing, or we just lay down, or we go, wow, that was a nice person. Thanks so much for your time. Because it feels like this resonant dissonance between what I'm trying to accomplish and how I have to be. And all of that sales avoidance is caused by very literal sales trauma. I call it sales baggage. I don't want to belittle the word trauma for anybody who's working in the trauma space, as many of my clients are. But sales baggage has been thrust upon us in the ways that we have been sold to, in the ways that we've been forced to sell in corporate environments, or a lot of us start selling as kids. And did you have to sell wrapping paper or cookies or candy as a kid?
Yes, but I have to tell you, Annie, I love sales.
There you go.
But I just got a kick out of it. I'm competitive, and so yes, but that doesn't mean I don't have sales avoidance sometimes.
Right.
Especially for the things that I love the most. And I'm like, I do this for free. No, stop doing it for free.
But for a lot of people, that I gotta walk up and ring this doorbell fear, is still there. Right? Or we see a lot in sales avoidance when people feel like they've been abused by salespeople in the past. They feel like they have to ape that tactic, and they absolutely don't. But you see them either try to or run against it. And what happens is you get these passionate, amazing people, just gorgeous service provider givers, living out their purpose and their dream. And then it comes time for them to sell, and they go, and it's really been a pleasure sitting down with you today and talking to you about what I have to offer you. Please go look on my website where you will find my pricing and buy buttons. And you're like, who the heck is this? Like,
this is not the person that I was just talking to. Yes.
No. And so sales avoidance is whatever keeps us from the beautiful, beautiful art of asking, which is so much easier than people think.
Yes. Well, and I want to say, I do know. I was at a conference recently, a virtual conference, and the guy said, there's one question, there's one segue that works really well. And I thought, oh, I hate these kind of things, right? But he says, so our next steps are.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah, that's not bad. That's really not, because generally I hate those things. But I was like, that helps me to make that next step. Right?
Well, because
I do have
a more seamless transition. Now, I'm going to go one further on that. Our next steps are, that's great, because I define selling as problem solving for money. So when we get to the point where a problem is about to be solved, or a mini problem has just been solved, then to say, yes, our next steps are, what that says to me is the next problem we can solve together is this, and this is how we would do that. Now, one of the things that I do that I don't even wait until that point in the call. If somebody gets on a call with me right at the very beginning, and y'all can please take this and use it and see how much different it feels, especially on discovery calls, clarity calls, whatever you want to call it. I go into the call and I say exactly this. Again, feel free to steal. And you have questions about me. I have questions about you. I'm guessing that we're here today on this call together because we have a common goal of getting you to solve this problem. Therefore, do you want to ask your questions first about me, or do you want me to ask my questions first about you? Because I want to make sure we're a good fit before we talk about anything financial. That is the very first thing I say on the call. Here's why it works. It works because when we've all been sold too badly, we get onto these calls and we immediately put our seatbelt on, strap in, and expect to be word vomited on.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
We sit there and we're like, okay, now I'm going to be sold to. Let me just close my mouth. Okay.
That's so funny. So I'm going to tell you something that you're going to love.
Yeah.
I when people call me on the phone specifically, they'll say, I'm not calling to sell you anything. And I'll say, okay, hold on a second. What's the last line on your script? And they'll say, what? And I'm like, no. Go to the last line of your script. What's the last line of your script? And they're like, well, I don't have a script. I'm like, oh, you clearly do, because you said. But yeah, if the last line in your script is I'm trying to sell you something, that's fine. But tell me what it is. I don't want to go through the sales process. I don't want to go through all of it. Just tell me what you're trying to sell me.
Just tell me what you're trying to sell me, babe. Like, let's get right to the point.
So I love that because, I mean, they know you're there to sell. They called you.
Yeah.
Right? They called you. So they already have some interest in your product. So I love it.
You're on my calendar, right? But if I give the listener, if I give the prospect the power at the beginning of the call, they find it, the word that I've heard so often, which I think is so interesting. It's such a rare word, but I've heard it out of the mouths of so many people. They find it very disarming in a beautiful way because they're like, wow, this is not at all what I expected.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really, really good. I am hoping, so Whitney, I think, usually pulls this out of here. If not, Amanda will. I'm hoping they'll pull that part out so that we can put it up as just its own little self, because that was so good.
Let it make you money, everybody. Let it make you money.
Exactly. So let's talk about know, like, and trust. And you said there's one important piece, the most important piece.
Yes.
And I think you said it was the final piece.
Yes.
So tell me that.
Okay. So know, like, trust, marketer to marketer. How many times in your life have you heard the phrase know, like, trust? A gajillion?
A gajillion at least.
And here's the thing. It is important. My version of this is seen, safe, supported. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about know, like, trust. Yes. In order to stand out in a competitive market, you must be discoverable. That's the know. Right? You must be magnetic. That's the like. And you must be, some people, the choice here is authenticity. Some people it's transparency. Some people it's exceptional customer service. That's the trust, right? Important. But here's where heart-centered people get stuck in this trap of know, like, trust. They're like, hey, guess what? I could befriend a tree stump. I'm amazing. I'm an introvert, but everybody's always trying to hug me. Or I'm an extrovert. Again, I could go into a room and leave with 50 best friends in 5 seconds, right? Or I'm out here hustling every day. I got all my ads on. I got my funnels popping. Oh, I'm looking amazing out here on these internet streets, as my friend Keisha would say, right? So, like, all of these different things. But we go market. Okay, we think that trust is the finish line. No. They know you. They like you. They trust you. They will stay on your list forever, sopping up your free content until one of your competitors actually asks them to pay them, and then they will leave you and they will go where they are asked. Most buyers need to be asked. So, know, like, trust, asked. ASKED, asked. You have to be asked if you really want to convert, right? And so if we stick in know, like, trust, not only, and this happened to me, again, everybody out there, no judgment, the most sales avoidant person on earth was me. But what happens when you get stuck in know, like, trust is you're like, why do I have all these professional best friends? Why do I have all these work best friends? Why are they always taking advantage of me? How come nobody's paying me? And it's so sad to watch these loving people who wake up with service hearts every day begin to resent the people they're helping because they don't understand why they're not getting anything back in exchange. The reason you're not getting anything back in exchange 9 times out of 10 is because you're simply not asking. So if you've poured your time, your energy, and your money into being known and liked and trusted, make sure that you are make sure you're making sure. It's Monday morning. Make sure that you are consistently, continually asking, or they become a buddy, not a client.
Absolutely. And I want to take that a step further and say, just because they know, like, trust you, and you've asked and they've bought, doesn't mean they'll continue to know you. And I want you to remember this, because people forget you. We're all forgettable. It's something I just over the weekend had a conversation with somebody, because she's like, I just don't think email marketing works because they're not opening the email. And I'm like, they don't have to open the email. They just have to see your name and go, oh crap, my husband's been telling me to call the plumber, right? But the plumber popped up in my email and remind me. Be somebody who is remembered. Make it something that you are constantly reminding them you're there. So always do that asked part, and then always know what is your next step going to be to keep them knowing you.
Yes.
So I love that. I think it's a circle. Everything's a circle.
Absolutely.
It really is. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So people think asking for money. They think asking for the sell. They think even the whole process, they think it's icky. Yep. So how do you make it feel good?
Remember that you're solving a very real problem. Whether you're a cupcake baker and you're solving the problem of someone's misfiring sweet tooth, or you're a divorce attorney getting someone out of a terrible marriage, or you're a coach selling something nebulous like fulfillment or happiness, whatever it is, you're solving a problem. So the best way to feel good about that is to be deeply steeped in your why, to understand that problem you're solving, and then to make sure that you understand which of your products and services solve which particular problems. The feel-good way to ask for money is listen and make sure you're prescribing the right thing for that person, because then the act of solving the problem becomes joyful.
Right.
I've got a perfect solution for you. Holy heck, we are a perfect fit, right? But if I know what I have to offer you, and I know why it's powerful and why it works, then I can get in front of you. I can say, look, this person has a very real and lasting issue that I can impart, and I can use one of my very, very favorite phrases to transition into the price part. The feel-good way to ask for money, again, y'all, take this to the bank, go use it today, make yourself some money, send me a fruit basket. Like, fine, 100%. Based on what you just told me about insert situation here, and about what you've disclosed about your budget and timeline, repeat details back to them, right? Based on what you just told me, the thing that I think is best for you is this, because of repeat the details you just said. This makes the person feel heard. You're going to feel a little repeaty. It's okay. It's going to work, right? Based on what you just told me about your goals, your problem, your budget, your timeline. What I think I have that's best for you is this, again, because of this, and this. And the investment for that, or the price for that, is this. How does that land on you? And then here's the secret, Anne. Here's the secret. State the price, put it back on them, and then don't talk through their thinking time. Shut your beautiful, brilliant mouth and don't do what so many of us have done, which robs us of our power and pops our balloon, sadly, which is we babble after we say our price, right? So we go, and the price for my program that I think that you should get into is $100 a month. And you know what, Ann? $100. I mean, it's not that much. I mean, you could probably just do that. Like if you stop going to Starbucks, or like, I know you have kids and it's summer and one of your kids is going to camp in Boston and that's probably really expensive, but like, you know, it's an investment and like, if you went to a restaurant Absolutely. And the server asked you what you wanted for dinner and you asked a question and then the server went, did I tell you about the pork chops, Ann? The pork chops are really good. You would leave the restaurant because how could you possibly think? So the feel-good way to ask for money is tie it to the why. Tell them specifically why you're offering what you're offering with feel-good detail because that'll make them feel seen. State the price. It's just a freaking number.
Right.
Ask them a question. My favorite is, how does that land on you? Or is that about what you were thinking? And then hush.
Yes. Yeah. I love that. And it just occurs to me as we're talking about this, that I think that people feel like they have that icky feeling. And I think part of that is when you never turn down a customer.
Yeah.
Right. We have customers come to us and I start talking to them and I say, you know, let me introduce you to somebody else. I think they're going to be a better fit for you. And when I do that, I can tell myself honestly that if I'm trying to sell you something, then I mean, I know you need it, right? So if I know you need it, it's easier to sell it. And I know you need it because guess what? I turned that guy down yesterday because he doesn't need it. He doesn't need it. Right?
And there's nothing more liberating than realizing that some money is too expensive to take. That's my favorite thing I ever learned from my own coach. Is that some people are just, you could see those red flags come and you know.
Oh, yeah.
But a lot of us feel pressured. And the thing is, they take up more energetic space. That money does not feel worth it. It's way below our bar of resentment. It doesn't feel great. But not all people that we wind up refusing are total butthead jerks. Some people, like you said, they're not at the place on the learning curve we need them to be. They need a different problem solved. They don't have the minimum financial investment. I'm all over being accessible instead of affordable, right? But sometimes because of stuff going on, like your child going to camp, all of these different things, like, okay, that's a very real factor, right? But for the people that you're not like, hey, we're not a fit buy, let me refer you out to someone else. In addition to that, if it's a timing issue, not a fit issue, but a timing issue or a financial issue, one of the ways I feel great about saying no is I give homework. Every single time that it's a no or a not now, whether that no or not now is triggered by me or triggered by them. If someone's not a fit because they're not ready for me or they can't afford me, I go, don't worry about it. The program will be here when you want to come back to it. Please keep in touch with me and let me know how you're doing. But in the meantime, if you want to turn this into an advice call instead of a sales call, what I'd recommend for you more than anything to move the needle is this action. And I want to hear from you when you do that. Take 2, call me in the morning. If I say, or if they go, Annie, you know, now's not the right time. I don't think this is quite right. I go, humor me with something. I want to give you some homework and I want you to do it. And they're like, okay. Normally they're like, hey, free advice. Why not? Take it or leave it. Right. And if they're like, Annie, I don't think this is what I need right now. Fine, whatever. I'm like, cool, humor me. What I want you to do is I want you to go change your LinkedIn bio to what we talked about earlier in the call. And if anything changes in your business, I just want to hear about it. And then normally I'll say, and I also, would you be cool if I asked you in 2 weeks? No, yeah, sure. So then I say, as promised, I'm following up to see how your homework went. And most of the time they have moved. Something has moved. So if they had objections, they're now seeing my problem solving in action. Or if they had a financial or timeline objection, sometimes the homework I give them gets them out of that rut so that they can get to the point where they can reinvest, right? But even if I know that person's never coming back, I still give homework because something magical can happen, which is you can get referrals or testimonials on people that don't even hire you.
Absolutely. And we do the same thing. We do the exact same thing. I always say, you know what? It's fine. We'll come back to this later. If you need me, that's great. If you don't, that's great too. But here's something I would do. And actually,
Yes,
I turned people away, honestly, and said, I will not take you until you've wrapped your vehicle, right? You're an electrician and you're driving around in an unmarked car. It makes no sense for me to take your money when you've got that low-hanging fruit out hanging there. Go
yes,
right?
absolutely.
And we do, and we've gotten referrals, a lot of referrals from those people. Yep. So now I need to buy a car wrap business, though.
Yes, you do. Everybody wrap your cars.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, absolutely. All right. So I want to talk about this. This is hugely important to me because I have empathy coming out my butt. I'm just saying.
So do I. Oh God, I got it coming out my nose, my ears, my butt. It's so bad.
It is so, and I will tell you, I think I've shared this on the show before, but we run a charity for suicide prevention. And it's a great charity. I love it. Actually, next week we're giving $3,000 to a local school. They're putting in some wonderful program for the elementary school, so it's very exciting. But the number of times I receive calls from parents who are extraordinarily broken because they've lost a child to suicide.
Yep.
It's hard, and as somebody who's empathetic, it was almost debilitating.
Yes.
It really was. I could get a call and be like, that's it. I can't do anything else the rest of the day. And I have worked through that, but I think empathy can be a huge curse. So I'm hoping you're going to tell me empathy can also be a huge blessing.
Heck yes, it can. No, hold on. First and foremost, empaths, not everything is going to be as high voltage draining as dealing with the tragedy of suicide in any age, and especially child suicide, right? So some of these things, though, we're talking about people that are dealing with very real trauma, dealing with loss. Sometimes the empathy is just, I'm having a really bad day, right? You know, it's that person, that client, that colleague that walks into the room and Eeyore's all over you, and you're just like, oh man, I guess I'm upset now, right? Okay, but here's the thing. When I first decided that I needed to learn how to sell, because I never, ever wanted to teach sales. Never, because remember, I hated the idea, right?
Right.
But I was like, listen, I cannot be sales avoidant for the rest of my life. I got to figure this out. So I read 138 sales books in like rapid succession. And I started getting really peeved because all of these amazing masculine Grant Cardone people were like, do you want to succeed in sales? There's an amazing skill you have to learn called empathy. And if you have empathy, then you can step into the shoes of your client and then they'll buy from you. And I was like, this is the most bogus Alice in Wonderland through the looking glass thing I have ever seen. Because in column A, we have empaths who are like, please, please, please light me on fire before you make me sell anything, because I could deeply feel how awkward this is on both fronts and I hate it. And then on the other side, all the salespeople going, you'll never succeed without empathy. And I'm like, okay, what is the disconnect?
Right.
And the thing is, we misfire our empathy because we don't know how to talk about pain points. So we lean into the feeling for them, and then we get mixed up on what's my awkwardness, what's their awkwardness, what's my pain, we project, well, they don't want to be sold to. Their kid just had a suicide attempt and they don't want to be sold to. Well, no, you don't want to sell to them because you don't want to sell to them. Understandable. But empathy truly is an unbelievable blessing in that it keeps you from treating the person on the other end of the transaction as a person and not a transaction. Right? Because when you remove empathy, you're like, get that money, get the money, get the sale. Doesn't matter what your pain points are. I'm going to list them out to you. You're going to pick from a list and then you're going to pay me. Right? It's got no emotion. But the thing is, empathy, blessing or curse, it's both. If you lead with empathy, if you rely on your empathy, but if you allow empathy to get tangled up in sales avoidance and project it at them, or if you allow it to have you shy so far away from the pain point that you sound like a Pollyanna, that's not serving anybody, right? So you can misfire in a couple different directions. You can sit there and start crying on the call. Oh my God, I can't even imagine how horrible that would be. I just can't. Completely robbing you of power, not making the person feel any better.
Right.
You could also go, tomorrow is another day. Platitude, 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 pie in the sky. Let's not even talk about this. We're talking about loss of a child. Okay, but like, let's talk about what they ate for lunch yesterday because that's easier. Whoa. Okay, whoa. Instead, we have to say with empathy, with care, this is my understanding of how you're feeling right now, knowing that I'm probably only scratching the surface. Right. And I can tell you stories of when I felt similarly, if it's important to you to know that I've been there. But really, I would rather focus on what we can do to move things along for you. And as long as you know that your feelings and your experiences are safe and valued and honored by me, then we can move forward through this. But also, if part of you would feel better about talking about this horrible tragedy, please know that I'm here for that. But I'm not a therapist. I want to get you to the next level. And so I am going to talk to you about solutions today with your permission, right? So empathy with permission, empathy with grace, and empathy moving the conversation forward, not let's just have this emotional fest where both of us get depleted. Make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, I want to go back to something because you said pain points. And I literally just realized this, that because pain points seem pretty new to me. I mean, like pretty, they make sense. That's what we do. We're solving somebody else's pain. Mm-hmm. And then I was recently talking to several different people who all said, so the pain point is that my wallet is empty. And I'm like, that's not the pain point.
That's not the pain point. That's
and so I want to make sure people understand that the pain point isn't your pain point. It's not what I'm.
It's not about
it's not my pain
y'all.
point. It's about the person on the other side. What problem are you solving for that person? The plumber who just came to my house was solving the problem that I am standing in and I can't stand it. Water in my shower because it just backs up. I hate it. It's gross. It's making me sick. I don't like it. And so the problem he was solving was helping me to have a relaxing shower. That's
the problem
where he was doing.
Solving is that a place where you do important self-care routines and good thinking.
Exactly.
Is actually causing you stress. So you're returning a stressful situation to a calming situation through the practical application of skill, right? You don't know how to fix it. He knows how to fix it. There's one of the pain points there. Maybe you try to fix it yourself. How many of us have tried to DIY a major home repair? It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare.
Exactly.
Right? So that's another problem. That's another pain point. It's staving off the nightmare of trying to do it yourself, knowing full well you don't want to know what you're doing. But when people don't understand the pain points, especially empaths, and they don't understand the pain points, one of the ways that I hack that is I say, what is the emotional world that this person is living in right now?
Right.
What's their self-talk sound like? What's their body feel like, right? Because so many things are psychosomatic. If you're stressed and you can't take a shower that feels good, you're not going to feel clean all day. What does it feel like if you don't fully feel clean all day? You're going to get itchy. You're going to be distracted. You're going to be hot. You're going to be constantly insecure, right? Whatever all those things are. Now, is a plumber going to come to your house and go, wow, Ann, you're kind of smelly and you look real gross and whatever, blah, da, da, da. No, of course not, right? That would not be good business. But what they could do is go, I personally understand how unbelievably gross and frustrating it feels when you have to stand in water in your shower. And I want you to know that I know that this isn't a major job, but I want to give it top priority in my day to day because I hate that feeling.
Right.
I think it's super gross. And the great news is it's fixable. The bad news is it's kind of a costly fix in order to do it right. But what I can guarantee you is that you're not going to have to stand in water for the next 3 months at least.
Exactly.
Right. I'm using that detail to infuse it. Again, I'm not going to go in and go, do you feel disgusting? Are you nasty? Do you have flies on your face, you gross, gross person? Like, they're not going to do that. But it could go, oh, no. no. Let's change this. Let's change this. Let's get together. Let's put our heads together and let's change this. Right. And it's also negative marketing makes the problem solver the hero and the client the idiot.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, so negative marketing, negative plumber could come in and go, ugh, did you try to fix this yourself? Did you watch a YouTube video? Oh, well, I hate to tell you this, Anne, but you probably cost yourself about another $500 in repairs trying to do it yourself. Next time you need to call me first. Why did you watch a YouTube video, Anne? I'm an expert. You've seen my branded truck. I drive down your street all the time. I sent you an email. Why wouldn't you just call me, Anne? Now we have this problem, Anne. Look what you did to yourself, Anne, right? And we all do that. Now, that sounds completely ridiculous. Right? That sounds completely ridiculous when I lampoon it in that way. Right. But that happens all the time. It does, yes. Especially in the weight loss industry. Are you out of control and only eat pizza? And are you just sitting on your ass all day? Blah, blah, blah. You better fix it. Right? Instead, if we go, listen, you're a business owner. You need a good shower. Not only for presentation and for health and for all the other reasons, because I know a lot of small business owners do their best thinking in the shower. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come along and I'm going to fix that so that you can, in my zone of genius, so you can get back into your zone of genius. I never made it about me, the plumber. Right. I just told you what I'm going to do for you, but I also didn't beat you up. Right. So we don't have to beat people up to talk about the pain points. We can talk about the pain points as the dragon on their back. They're the hero. The pain point is the obstacle. You are the sage. You are the advisor. You are the Dumbledore. You are not Harry Potter. Right. Right. I love that. I love that. Hey, Annie, we are out of time, but I need to do two things. First of all, I want to tell people, please go to her website, anniepruggles.com. Watch that video on manipulation. It was brilliant. I loved it. I really had a great time. I could talk to you for a very, very long time. But before we go, the second thing I want to do is to say, Annie, tell us about your podcast because it's very different and interesting. And I think people should know about it. So thank you for all of that. And thank you for having me. And yes, please do go to my website, but also feel free to bypass it and reach out to me directly on Instagram or LinkedIn if you have a real sales problem right now. But my podcast, my beloved darling, is called Too Legitimate to Quit. Instantly actionable small business strategies with a pop culture spin. I interview brilliant people. I whip them up in their zone of genius so that we can get that actionable strategy part. But then we shift it to find marketing, selling, or other business lessons in a beloved piece of pop culture. We've talked about Cher. We've talked about Cobra Kai. We've talked about Coming to America, the original and the sequel. We've talked about Schitt's Creek. I could go on and on and on and on, but inspiration's all around us and we have new episodes every Monday. Well, I am really excited. I'm going to listen to yours today. And you said today is explicit, so I won't listen to it in the car with my son. Oh, yes. Parentpreneur warning. We dropped some bombs on that show. So headphones with littles, or feel free to listen to it after dark. Well, Annie, this has been so much fun. I really enjoyed it. And as soon as I saw your video, I knew I was going to enjoy it. But and when I read your bio, the same thing, I thought, oh my God, this lady's going to be brilliant. So I'm super excited about it. We will see you. Maybe I'll be on your show soon. Hopefully. That'd be wonderful. Yeah. Everybody else, please go over, check Annie out. Also subscribe on YouTube here. Apparently you can no longer subscribe on Apple Podcasts. But, wherever you're listening, please do leave a comment, leave a review, whatever you want to do. We want to hear how great we are. And we're really excited about Marketing Moms. We will see you soon. Annie, you've been brilliant. Thank you. Thank you, Anne. Don't call her Annie and don't call me Anne, y'all. Right, exactly. And you wait around 1 minute, Annie.